Hi guys, my name is Winnie. Welcome to the Worldspin Podcast, the home of Formula One content and everything motorsport. We're now done with the second round of the Formula One 2024 season that doubled up as the first round of the F1 Academy, this all-women series, an initiative by F1 to try and increase and develop female talent pool to have them progress into higher levels of racing. So F1 Academy doubles up as, I think it's equivalent of F4. So I think from F1 Academy, the drivers graduate to F3 like that's, and then now they can get onto their road to F1. So this was, I don't know, F1 is just the new cycle of F1 nowadays. You have to be on it to keep up with everything that, that is happening. So I thought we should just start with the big headlines from the weekend. The first one is the F1 Academy. Dorian Pin, the girl, the lady that's running the livery, the Mercedes livery in F1 Academy. She came and was on top of her game, won the first race of F1 Academy. I think she qualified on pole for both qualifying sessions of F1 Academy. So let me quickly just take you through the format of F1 Academy this year. So F1 Academy, I think, runs, I've already told you what it is. It's being directed by Susie Wolf, the iconic Susie Wolf. The format is, I think, tweaked from last year's. Last year was the inaugural season, so this is a second running of the F1 Academy. So I think the format is pretty much, they have 2 practice sessions of 40 minutes each, and then they have a qualifying session. I think it's like 30 minutes qualifying session. So then they have 2 races. So the first race, the grid is set by the fastest time you put in qualifying. The second race, the grid is set by the second fastest time you put in qualifying. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the fastest time you put on in qualifying is, I think, graded for all the drivers, and then that sets the grid for the first race. And then now the second fastest lap for every driver is, compiled, and then that sets the grid for the race 2. So Dorian Pin, I think, she has been stellar this weekend. She's so super focused, and it's also it was just so nice to have the girls running on International Women's Day. Such a big win for women in motorsport as well. Like, it was so lovely to hear. Like, it doesn't get any better than this, than women wishing each other happy International Women's Day through team radio. It was really iconic and nice to listen to. Today's race, I think Dorian Pin, she was so focused, guys. She missed the checkered flag twice, and she was penalized for it, I think, post-race. And then now that upgraded Abby Pulling, of who's running the Alpine livery in F1 Academy. So congratulations to the girls. Congratulations to the series for running this first round of their championship. They have 7 rounds to go. And this year they coincide with the F1 calendar for all their rounds. So the next round will be Miami, when F1 is running in Miami, I think around in May. Then I think we'll go to Spain, and then there's Zandvoort, and then there's Qatar, and then there's Abu Dhabi. That will be the last race of the F1 Academy. So it's nice to see them running, and I hope and also the interesting thing this year about F1 Academy, they also have like a wild card entry. So this year they had I will confirm the name of the lady who was running the wildcard entry. So for every round, wherever they will be at, they will have like an entry from like a representative from that region running the race. So I feel like that's such a great and interesting touch to the F1 Academy format. And I hope it continues to be sustainable. Like the fact that we have F1 drivers going to cheer on the participants who their teams are supporting. Like, it's been amazing to see the drivers go and support the girls. Lewis Hamilton, of course, is always there. Even last year, he was even, I think I also saw a number, of course, sending supportive messages. And I feel that helps in the sustainability of that format and all of that series, having the F1 grid, the F1 teams involved as well. Because I feel like it's also like an important thing, because the drivers, the young girls, have access to, good training from these camps. Like, I mean, if you have access to psychologists, trainers, that structure that is offered by F1 teams, then I feel like that's brilliant. There are some liveries that are actually like sponsored by the Tilbury, Charlotte Tilbury, the makeup brand in the UK. I feel like that was also like a very big win for, brands, now getting into the motorsport space, because there is a growing viewership, and it's been there, it's growing, it's budding, it's vibrant, the female viewership in motorsport. Like, that's very big. We have Puma as well, Tommy Hilfiger. It's really, and they have very good supporters. And I feel like when brands come on board for such series, they help in the longevity and the success of such series. Also, the other interesting thing is that you can only run in F1 Academy for only 2 seasons. So that means we need a lot of, I hope we'll see a lot of transition of the superstars, the stars in F1 Academy transition into F3, and we get to see them on their road to F1 Formula One. Yeah. So that was the big, I think for me, that was the big, one of the big topics coming from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. The other one will just go directly into F1. So guys, I have a very interesting story. I mean, it's a story that maybe you are familiar with or you're not. So in Monza 2019, Alex Albon, after 3 sessions of the Formula One weekend, couldn't take the pain of his appendix. He had appendicitis. So in 2022 at the Italian Grand Prix, Albon has to go to hospital and get surgery to have his appendix removed. So this is a story of the domino effect, and I'm so sure so many of you are familiar with it. So 2022 at the Italian Grand Prix, Alex Albon seat is taken by Nick De Vries to replace him for the sessions that he would be away on surgery. Nick De Vries qualifies, I think, 11th, 13th. And he does such a good job the next day, scoring points for Williams, finishing in 9th position. People are so impressed, he's pictured having dinner with Max Verstappen, who informs him that he should give Helmut Marko a call, since actually during that period, AlphaTauri were looking to replace one of their drivers, because we knew Gasly was not going to AlphaTauri. Nick De Vries is signed by AlphaTauri. He starts driving for AlphaTauri, and unfortunately, due to some, I don't think he was given sufficient time to adjust and to show his true potential. He's a great racer. He's fired, or like he's ousted from AlphaTauri. After the ousting of Nick De Vries, Daniel Ricciardo is announced as the driver for AlphaTauri. Daniel Ricciardo comes in and races for AlphaTauri for 2 races at the Hungarian Grand Prix and the Belgian Grand Prix. And at Zandvoort, Daniel Ricciardo breaks his metacarpals, I think during the banking in Zandvoort. And that brings in Liam Lawson. That is a whole domino effect of Alex Albon's appendix. Now, at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, after the 2 practice sessions, we were informed that Carlos Sainz was experiencing some illness, which was again appendicitis, and he had to go away to get surgery, and come in Ollie Bearman. I feel like this is also, I don't know if this story of Carlos Sainz appendix will be as iconic as Alex Albon's appendix, but I'm so sure there will be like a whole domino of effect, because we have seen a brilliant show of talent, show of brilliance by the 18-year-old British driver. Ollie Bearman drives for Prima Racing in F2, and he replaced Carlos Sainz from the FP3, from practice 3, and all through the weekend for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, while Carlos Sainz was off getting surgery for his appendicitis. I cannot wait to see the iconic, legendary things that F1 drivers' appendixes Is that like the correct word? Appendixes. Um, appendixes do. I feel like this is like another major story in the making, because Ollie Bearman is Formula One material. He has proved that he was able to hold off Lando Norris in the closing stages of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Norris was also under pressure, so much pressure from Lewis Hamilton behind him to finish in the points. I think a strong P7 for Ollie Bearman. Like, that is applaudable. He was voted driver of the day, and props to him. Qualified P11, that's also like great. This is the first time he's jumping into an F1 car. He's not scored points in F2. I mean, seeing as it's only been one round. So him coming into F1, that means he couldn't compete at all in F2 this weekend. And he's got points in F1 before he's gotten points for his actual job, which is to drive in Formula 2. That was a very big moment for Ollie Bearman, and I'm so sure he's going, home very pleased with his effort. I think the spotlight is on him. I'm so sure the driver market, silly season is coming. I mean, silly season in 2025 or like towards the end of this year will be crazy. And I'm so sure that is something that will be thrown around. I hope his story doesn't turn out as Nick De Vries's, like, where you sign in talent or people, just on the whim, and then now you don't give them a chance. But this is Ferrari. They will give him like a good structure, but I don't know how soon they would sign him, but I'm so sure he will head somewhere. I mean, he has proven that he can perform, he can take the pressure, and he wasn't very far off from Charles Leclerc. I feel like he ran a very, 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 very good race. And so Naomi Schiff, the Sky Sports presenter, also, I think, had an interesting statement today, and she said, like, there's some I'm not quoting directly, but this is the gist of it. Like, there's some older drivers on the grid who are not, who are not, the more you stay there, the more you don't let this young talent come through in F1. Ollie Bearman was the third youngest entrant in F1. The youngest until now, I think it's Max Verstappen, who started racing in F1 at 17. And then the second youngest, I think, is Lance Stroll, yeah. And then now there's Ollie at 18. I don't know what you guys were doing at 18. I don't know if you were 18, but that's like impressive stuff coming from Ollie Bearman. So now let's jump into the F1 weekend. Just from the race, I think it was a straightforward race for Saudi Arabia. There's a 100% probability of the safety car drawing from the three previous editions of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So of course we did get a safety car that was brought out by Lance very early on, not quite very early on in the race. The funny thing was, I think for me, the funniest thing coming from that exchange was Lance Stroll's engineer asking him, "Can you bring it home?" And Lance is like, "Oh my God, I'm in the wall." Like, it was so funny. Like, what do you mean bring it back? He's literally like, he's hit the wall. He's actually inside that whole barrier. So it was actually very funny. So that the safety car brought, of course, a flurry of activities. We saw a lot of drivers pitting. Yeah, and they left out, I think they couldn't double stack at Mercedes. So they kept Lewis out. They pitted George Russell, and they pitted Oscar Piastri and left Lando Norris, who took the lead of the race for quite a number of laps. I don't know if that was like a good strategy for both McLaren and Mercedes, but they were banking on a late safety car where they would, take advantage of that and pit their drivers then. So they decided to go long. So a one-stopper here in Saudi Arabia is like it's like a no-brainer, but of course the safety car changes a lot of things around. So we had most of the drivers on the grid start on the medium tire. We had two drivers start on the soft tires, which was Bottas and Ollie Bearman. So the soft tire gives you a great launch off the line, but then now it degrades faster than the medium. So you can have like a great couple of fast laps, and then now the medium people will have the advantage later on. But we didn't see a lot of like attacking on that soft tire. The thing with this generation of F1 cars is that they're able to follow very closely, like stay in the dirty air of like the car ahead of you and not get past it. Like I was so shocked at how long Piastri was stuck behind Hamilton. I think he was stuck behind Hamilton until Hamilton came in to pit, and he pitted with quite like I think around 15 or 16 or 17, some few laps to go. So that means Piastri was actually stuck in DRS, like that DRS delta time, activation, like below 1 second. He was stuck behind Lewis. He couldn't overtake. I mean, of course, I didn't realize Mercedes had so much straight line speed, but of course the McLarens are very, very good with the high speed corners, and the Jeddah circuit, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix track layout has the most corners of any track on the F1 calendar, which is like 27 corners. Those are a lot, and also it's one of the fastest tracks on the circuit. It even like very, very much the drivers reach average speeds comparable to those of Monza. So I think only comes next close to Monza. Monza, I think, is a temple of speed, the fastest track we have on the calendar, and then I think the second one now is the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So I don't know how he was able to actually. I mean, Lewis, of course, is a brilliant driver. Of course, we know good tactics, good defense moves from him as well. So that was also like, I don't know how he was able to do that and also fend off there were some drivers that had pitted behind them. There was like Alonso and Russell. There's a time he was lapping faster than the guys behind them. So behind, that is Lewis Hamilton I'm talking about. So that was like an interesting thing to look at, to actually talk about and watch out for. Max Verstappen had a very straightforward forward race for him, pitting under the safety car, coming out, building this huge gap that he does. We just keep on saying he keeps on getting better. Like, he's on a class of his own. He has now a total of 100 podiums. Like, that's excellent. We have to applaud him for that. He really does keep on showing that there are levels to this thing. He will just come up like, oh my God, I do not know how he does it. So this is his second win. I think his 9th consecutive win. After that Singapore Grand Prix, they didn't win last year. I don't know. Maybe Singapore will be the only chance that we get to see another driver win. Who knows? Checo Perez in P2, he had to really work hard, because he had a 5-second penalty. 5-second penalty, time penalty. For, I think, was it unsafe release? Yeah, he had like an unsafe release, so he had to serve that time penalty, which he had to build that time on Leclerc for him to preserve his P2. This weekend, Checo's looked like he was with it. Finishing P2, that's the best. That's the best you can do. As we've said, Max is racing on a league of his own. So Checo getting a P2, that's the best that he can do. So good stuff for him. Leclerc, very good as well. A P3 podium for Ferrari is also very good. He's also, he said in his post-race interview, Ollie Bearman, good effort from him. That's someone, F1 material. And I'm so sure so many people will be looking out for that. So, and he said that Ollie does really belong in F1. So yeah, there was good racing from Leclerc as well. Not so much happening in this race, guys. I think before was it Piastri? Yeah, Piastri was able to. He was stuck behind Lewis for so long, but then Lewis, retired. Lewis pitted. Oh my God, Lewis pitted and released at least released Oscar Piastri to go and take his comfortable P4. Great effort for him as well. Alonso was very quick. The Aston Martins were very good with the 1 lap pace. Like during qualifying, they were looking very competitive in qualifying. Even Lance, both cars made it into Q3, part of top 10. Good run from the Aston Martin. So that is something I think to like good feedback to take from this weekend for them. But then I think now the race pace they struggled, and also like now seeing as there was only one soul remaining. Aston Martin on that to see the checkered flag. So great effort from Alonso as well. I mean, Alpine continued the problems. I think we had like the early retirement from Pierre Gasly, who reported gearbox issues. Let me see. I think there were only 2 retirements: Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly. Was it? Oh yeah. Let's talk about Lando Norris's. So he had like an issue. He jumped the start, but everyone thought he was gonna get like it was a slam dunk penalty. But then now apparently it's not a penalty. There's no problem with what he did. There needs to be consistency. Not even consistency. I don't know how rules are applied in F1 sometimes, so I can't even speak on that because sometimes it's just so confusing. I'm like, this is what the rules say, and then it was raining penalties in Saudi Arabia. There was penalties for Magnussen there was in leaving the track and getting an advantage. That's normally like a 5-second penalty. He was given 10. I think he had 2 10-second penalties. There's one that was very 10. It's very brutal penalties for Magnussen. There was also there were a number of penalties. And now talking of penalties, let's talk about another headline that was also coming from this weekend. Like that's not track related. There was BBC Sports reported that they had actually laid eyes on some compliance report filed by the compliance department and ethics committee of FIA, and we had a whistleblower come out and say that last year, remember guys, Alonso had a penalty for not being in the right grid spot during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So he was penalized, given a 5-second penalty for not being in the box that grid box. In the grid line, there's always that part where the car needs to be at. So he was penalized for that. And he served his penalty like during a pit stop, but then he was penalized for not serving that penalty correctly. So apparently the car was... There's no work that's supposed to happen before you finish serving your penalty. So there was I think someone touched the rear or something. Yeah. So and then now there was a penalty that was applied, and that, if you remember, that penalty was removed, dismissed post race, and apparently Ben Sulayem, the FIA president, had called in the director of sports for the North Africa region, who was in Saudi Arabia at the time on working capacity as an official working during that weekend, to say that to just call for the dismissal of that penalty. Guys, strange things are happening in Formula One, and honestly, sometimes you just have to sit and just wait as things are unfolding. So many things, that is crazy. We had, and that was not the only one. There was also the reports that he had called for Las Vegas not to be certified as a safe circuit for racing last year. It's just a lot. It's just keeping up with all the news coming from F1 can be a lot of work. And you still have to keep up. There's also the Christian Horner story that keeps on unfolding, with new drama now that Helmut Marko will be suspended as soon as the Australian Grand Prix. And apparently Max also says it would be a big problem if Helmut were to leave. So him leaving, Helmut leaving Red Bull would also signal that Max would actually be leaving Red Bull. This is a lot, guys. And then Toto saying that he also has a slot for Helmut at Mercedes. Maybe we might actually see, sometimes we talk about these things as if they're jokes. we might actually see maybe soon Max Verstappen in a Mercedes suit. The things Toto says are just, he said they have lost their mascot. I don't think that's a good way of referencing Niki Lauda. A mascot, really? I don't know. That doesn't, makes me feel some type of way. Anyway, like, that's something to keep out for. Like, let's keep an eye out on that. So to see how that progresses, will we see Max Verstappen signing with Mercedes and departing Red Bull, his home base? I don't know. Will Helmut? It's always funny. There's like when apparently Helmut is told, "Don't talk to the media." 5 seconds after, he's on the media, and then there are reports that he's the one who leaked the messages that were used as evidence to investigate the complaints of controlling and harassment behavior of Christian Horner against a female employee at Red Bull. Those chats were leaked, and apparently they were leaked by Helmut Marko. Guys, let's be serious. This guy is almost 80 years. Like, it's just honestly, sometimes it's just hilarious. Anyway, like, that's just a story that's unfolding. Unfortunate the way. I do not want to go into it on this episode about how unfortunate it is, the comments that were coming from the drivers asked about the issue, especially after Red Bull apparently suspended the female employee who had brought forward the complaints against Christian Horner. And everyone, I think there was one comment that really did upset me, which was one driver dismissing it as distraction and noise. No, these are like actual problems and an issue that's being faced by a woman in the paddock. And whilst we're trying to, that's the message of F1, trying to make this space inclusive and safe for women. Like, that's not like a very good message now, is it? Yeah, that was like not a really good thing to hear from like most drivers. We still call for like an inquiry to be done. We just need more transparency and more integrity, at least, to just ensure that we are, F1 is still, building a safe and inclusive space for women who work there and who aspire to work there. Like, let's set a very good, precedence, because the way they've handled this sets a very bad precedence for, future cases in such sensitive matters. Yeah, so that's my take. That's my very, very hot take. Very disappointed with some of those drivers that like had, those dismissive comments when asked about this particular issue. So, in anything else, something else coming from the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix? Is there anything else, guys, I'm missing? Let me see. I'm just racking through my brain to see if there's anything else we missed. George Russell. Yeah, George Russell was awfully, like, he was just running a race of his own. Like, he did qualify ahead of Lewis Hamilton again this weekend. But it was interesting when, like, I was looking at the tech people who review the data. They were like, Lewis looked particularly even faster than George Russell. The strategy for Hamilton, I mean, that strategy was not going Lewis Hamilton's way. It was like, it's a very big gamble, staying out, anticipating a second safety car when the rest of the grid has pitted. That was going to be a very, very, tight, and, hard to make work strategy. Should they have gambled and tried to double stack and lost time in the pits, maybe with their slow stops, and maybe given more time for their drivers to recover? Probably. Was it like a good gamble? I don't know. You see, that's the thing with gambling, like with especially like basing your whole strategy on let's wait and see. Like, I don't know. That was it was never like a very good strategy. I don't feel like it was a very, very good strategy. They should have tried to double stack. I think most drivers did it. Like, I've remembered stakes off. I think they're getting so traumatic. Like last weekend, they had a very poor stop with Bottas that we talked about in our Bahrain debrief. We were talking about how it was reminiscent of Monaco, the longest. I think it still holds record for the longest pit stop in F1. I think at 43 hours. Again, they had a very bad stop today, like almost 7 seconds, like for Zhou Guanyu. So that was like, but things are just following them, yeah. So, but I hope, I hope they do get better. And also, like, I think we all are aware that Sauber being purchased by Audi for, I think, from the 2026 season. Yeah. So yeah, that's also like a development to keep an eye out for, to see what driver lineup they will come up with. There's also a very slow stop from Ferrari. It was this chaos today, like 5 seconds for Leclerc. Yeah, it was for Leclerc. Yeah, it was actually very funny. I didn't get to see Mercedes try today with their pit stops, but still they can still do better. Was there anyone else who really like in quali? Was there any other? Let me see, guys. We've talked about Mercedes. Oh, McLarens. Oh, we've talked about them. They're very fast, very good with this high speed corners. Which other team? We've talked Red Bull. We've talked Stake Sauber. Oh yeah, Haas. They're doing an excellent job. They might, apart from the Magnussen penalties, Hulkenberg was running a very good race. You remember last weekend he had a very good run in qualifying, made it into Q3. They've scored a point now. They're, I think, 6 in the constructors with 1 point. That's good. It's good development for Haas. I hope they continue developing in the right direction. Williams, we saw some brilliant racing from Albon today. It's like, but Saturday they were just oscillating in the same orbit with Sargent just following each other. So today the action was actually coming from that DRS train created by Magnussen, who helped his teammate score some points by holding up that whole DRS train of Albon, Tsunoda, Sargent, even Bottas, who was running last, was actually catching them. So that was, I don't know, it was like team play, perfect team play by Magnussen to help Hulkenberg score some points for Haas. That was good team play. We are now going to Australia for the third round of the F1 weekend. And if I missed anything, just remind me. I will just remind us here in the feedback or in the comments, or you can actually just send your feedback wherever you're listening your podcast from. I think that's all from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, to rate us on the platform that you're listening to us from, and follow us on our social media handles at the Wheelspin Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok as well. Thank you so much for tagging along, and I'll see you in Melbourne in a fortnight. Have a lovely week ahead, day, night. Just stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.